told that we have got to go to Port Elizabeth, and that's where we find my colleague Sandy McCowan, who is covering that Omotoso trial. Sandy, good morning to you, if you can hear me. Give us a sense of who this new witness is going to be that is going to testify after the harrowing testimony by Cheryl Zondi in the last couple of weeks.
I spoke to State Prosecutor Neba Telwa. He was saying that a witness who was in the Mshlanga house will be testifying today. She is younger than Cheryl Zondi, and he said that he had deep discussions with her and her parents to make sure that they were happy with the idea of testifying in open court. So far they have said yes to that, but he doesn't want to release her name because he says she still has the option to change her mind, because when she steps into the witness stand, the judge will ask her whether she is still willing to testify in open court. That will be her final decision. I'm now joined by the Minister of Communications, Nomvula Mokunyana. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
You've been watching this harrowing trial, I'm sure. How do you think that survivors watching this trial, do you think that they would come forward and be willing to testify after watching how the advocate has been dealing and has been asking these inappropriate questions?
Part of the reason why we all are quite shocked. It's because of the court environment in South Africa, where a victim is subjected to another trial and another form of abuse, as if she has to be the one who defends or justifies how she ended up being a victim. Of course, now we have to, all of us, 25 years down the line, have to review the Sexual Offences Act, we have to review the Domestic Violence Act, so that then in the implementation we deal with these kind of issues and assess as to whether there's no overreach in the interest of defending a suspect against a victim. Even on the issues of those who have to stand on the box, that who then has to be the one who has to respond and justify his behavior or her behavior. And therefore the issues around reversal judgment is quite important, so that the person must prove his innocence rather than the victim proving if she is indeed a victim. So this has actually awoken everybody to say, 20 years down the line, having developed the DVA, 25 years down the line with the Sexual Offences Act, is our system actually in the interest of fairness?
Do you think in the meantime, while this has been reviewed, that there can be discussions with the NPA, with all those involved in the law, to say that questions like that we've heard in this court, these inappropriate questions, should not be asked to the victims because they're getting re-traumatized?
Already there are such discussions. The matter has been raised with both the criminal justice cluster of cabinet. The issues have been raised through the Ministry of Women. Advocacy groups have actually come out to say this has to be looked at. There are people who are considering to be friends of the court to come and speak on these particular issues. We can't wait for this kind of a trial to end, because what is happening is going to be continuing given the kind of person who is here acting on behalf of the suspect.
Now, many on social media are saying that where was the ANC's Women's League when Kwezi was on the stand during her trial? What is your response to that?
I think we're here today. We've been always vocal on issues around gender-based violence, sexual offences. It would be not correct for us to now begin to apportion blame and divert from dealing with what is affecting the nation, as it affected us also with Kwezi. You can see even on this one, communities get divided. What is of importance is to learn from those lessons and say, how do we avoid any form of division, particularly amongst women, amongst society, and be in a position where you become objective in dealing with the judgment.
There's been a lot of support for Cheryl Zondi. We've seen the ANC Women's League here almost every day. How is the ANC Women's League giving support to the victims in this case?
There has been a lot of victim support, not only from the ANC, but also from community-based organizations, even the semblance outside of young women, young people from the EFF, the DA, the ANC, Young Women's Desk. This is exactly what we want, because 5 years, 10 years down, before, there's never been this kind of multi-party approach, and I think this is a maturity of an awareness that is gaining momentum in South Africa, that you can't politicize in instances of abuse, instances of sexual offenses, and something that is actually destroying a nation like what we are witnessing here today. And hence we are saying we need to now begin to evaluate 20 years down the line the Domestic Violence Act. We need to check the Sexual Offences Act. We need to really look at the loopholes around victim support, so that then the victim does not actually go on secondary victimization. It is time that we should be posing this question. Should it not be the responsibility, especially on these kind of offences, of a suspect to prove his innocence, as compared to leaving everything to a victim to justify that she has been abused?
Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. As you heard, that was the Minister Nomvula Mokonyane talking about how this case has put a spotlight on how victims are re-traumatized in court, and how they will be looking at how to deal with the acts around domestic violence, around rape, and around how the law deals with victims in court.
All right, Sandy, but perhaps one other question that you might want to explore with the Women's League is whether or not it has indeed been confirmed that one of its members was found to be among those who were supporting Pastor Timothy Omotoso, and how the Women's League is dealing with that, if at all they are dealing with it. But thanks for the moment, Sandy McCowan in Port Elizabeth, ahead of the testimony of a new witness in that trial of Nigerian Pastor Timothy Omotoso.